Welcome to the Growth Lab podcast, where we talk about finding new clients, winning more contracts, and growing successful cleaning businesses. I'm your host, Matt Harris, and I run the Growth Lab. We partner with cleaning business owners to launch, accelerate, and scale the growth of their business with tried and tested systems and strategies that generate predictable revenue. If you're turning over at least 6 figures and you want to grow your cleaning business to 7 figures plus, click on the link in the description and schedule a call. Now let's dive in.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Profitable Cleaner podcast. I'm super excited for today's episode. I'm rolling with my co-host, Angel Sandoval, and more importantly, our guest today, Matt Harris. Matt, what's up, brother? You're calling in from the UK. It's probably 7, 8 p.m. there, so we appreciate the late night hanging out with us. How's it going today, Matt?
Right. Oh, James, you just came back, brother. You were out for a solid 35, 40 seconds. So we didn't hear anything you just said on the intro.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, what's up, everyone? I will do take 2 of this on the Profitable Cleaner podcast. We got Angel Sandoval with me today. We have our boy Matt Harris rolling out in the UK. I think it's like 7, 8 p.m. at night out there, Matt. So thanks for hanging out with us on the late night tip here, man. So Matt, how's it going today, brother?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. It's it has been an action-packed day, but I'm looking forward to just sitting down, having a chat, and seeing where the conversation goes.
Cool. So this is what we know to be true about the one and only Matt Harris. We know you're a recovering lawyer, attorney, obviously a former business owner in the commercial cleaning space, and now you're the founder of the Growth Lab that helps really just cleaning business owners accelerate their business development and their sales growth. You have your own podcast, man. In 30 seconds or less, man, give everyone kind of a quick introduction of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, look, as you mentioned, I was a practicing lawyer for a while. I retired myself in 2013. I set up my cleaning business originally as a side hustle, and then I got it to a point where I could quit work. So 2013 sort of focused on growing the business. And for the first sort of 3 years, we doubled in size, which was pretty good. Then we bought our first business, and that was really the I think point of no return, because as much as it was exciting buying a business and sort of trying to integrate that, it came with a lot of headaches, and we went through a bit of a rocky phase for a couple of years. But then we got to a point where we won a couple of really big contracts, which was great. Pivoted the business from having staff to outsourcing everything, and then I got to a point where I'd set up a property management business, and I just thought now is the time to sell the cleaning business. So I sold it just before lockdown. My property management business didn't make it through lockdown, unfortunately. And then I was spending time online looking in cleaning communities, just checking out what's going on. And 2 big problems that I found was people were struggling to find contracts and people were struggling to find and retain staff. So I thought, okay, well, I think I can help with the first point. And one approach that I used quite successfully was sort of cold emails, email outreach, cold calling. I gave some suggestions, got some good feedback, and that kind of sowed the seed to start the Growth Lab. And the Growth Lab now, we work with commercial cleaning businesses, essentially to help them with lead generation, but more sort of in a business development context, like finding new opportunities. And sales is a part of that, lead generation is a part of that. But it's also just putting the right sort of infrastructure in place so that business owners can, have a system for sales ultimately.
Love it, man. Love it.
I have a question real quick, unless you do, James.
Go for it, man.
Cool. So you said lead gen. So we'll just jump in straight into it. Real quick before we do this, before I ask this question, for anyone that's going to listen, what size deals are you talking about? That way they know what. Sure. Yeah, like as a recurring revenue or annual contracts, what's like that target that right now that you help achieve on average?
So look, on average, the contract value is anywhere between 100,000 to maybe 500,000 a year. The businesses that we tend to work with are between 1 and 10 million in revenue. And that is generally the sort of contract size. There are bigger ones, but for those there is a formal tender process which is quite long and drawn out. There's government contracts that obviously, higher value.
Yep.
But those are the kind of easier pickings. I'm not saying it's completely easy, but they're easier. They're easier to access, those sorts of opportunities.
Understood. Gotcha. So which leads to my question. So if you're going for 100 to 500K a year, stay tuned. Listen, there'll be some good golden nuggets here. That's why I wanted to make sure we touched on that.
Yeah.
Because there's some people looking for $500 a month and $1,000 a month, which are cool, but the different conversation. So let me ask you, what's the difference between lead generation and business development? Because you mentioned that they're separate. So I just want to make sure people that are listening understand the difference.
Yeah, sure. So lead generation in my eyes is finding outreach for opportunities that don't necessarily, actually, no, that's not a good description. So there's inbound and outbound lead gen. So inbound, we all know, adverts, social media, SEO. Outbound, generally, our approach is cold email, warm calls, and LinkedIn. And it is finding opportunities, finding prospects that aren't necessarily in a buying position right now, but can be nurtured into making that decision. Business development, in my opinion, is more a strategic sort of approach, like taking a broader picture and saying, look, this is where the business is right now. Like, what are the opportunities within the channels that we're working with? But also, what are the broader opportunities that we can take advantage of that, we're set up to kind of facilitate? So, for example, thinking back to when I had my cleaning business, we wanted to win more commercial cleaning contracts. So we wanted to work with partners that already had access to clients where there was an easy sell-in. So one approach that we took was partnering with security companies. I prepared a research report, and essentially there was a challenge in the security sector from facilities management businesses, because facilities management businesses could offer a range of services. Manned security companies were getting pushed out of the market. So quite a lot of them were looking to offer dual service. So either adding on an additional soft service or providing additional security options, tech options, installing cameras, that kind of stuff. So when I realized that opportunity was available, I was like, cool, we're going to target security companies. We're going to partner up with them. And we're going to say, look, you can either, you can increase your earnings per client for zero cost by partnering with us. And the proposition was pretty straightforward, because all you had to do was go to your existing client and say, look, Mr. Client, we're already at your premises, looking after your premises throughout the night. We know that you have cleaners. It's going to be more cost effective for you to employ one company to deal with those two aspects. Let's take care of that for you. We then come in, provide the cleaning services. We either white label our service to the security company so that they put their margin on and charge whatever, or they bring us in as a partner and we paid them a little bit. We paid them a little bit commission on the back end. But either way, they made extra revenue, and their client retention came up because they had an opportunity to offer an additional service, and everyone was a winner. Like, we won and they won, and that was that's what I look at in terms of business development. Finding those sorts of opportunities.
Man, I think that's genius.
I love it. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned it, man. That was like my question, because it's a lot of people, they put business development manager, sales, lead generation, marketing, and they put everything into one bucket. And then they categorize everything as one, and they only measure it based on leads that come in and closes that I'm getting, right? Which is cool, but that's like the scoreboard. Right, that's the scoreboard. But when you're watching football, like, you still got to figure out, am I on offense on this one? Am I on defense? Am I the safety? Am I actually going for a touchdown, or is this just clock management until I get to where I can just punch it in at the end? Like, I don't think a lot of people think of everything, like the whole ecosystem together. And we get that a lot. And so that's why I want to make sure you saw that, because it's one thing to have someone cold calling and prospecting, and it's another developing the business to be able to secure yourself, to set up something like what you were talking about. So I love that business dev and versus lead generation difference.
And it's just, I think for business development, it's more sort of understanding neighboring markets that you work in, right? Property managers, for example. If you think of a property manager, what sort of services do they need? Okay, so they need cleaning. Cleaners are normally the last people in a property. What else would help a property manager? Removals help a property manager, because when people move out, obviously they need to move their stuff somewhere, and a removal company is going to help. So as from a cleaning company perspective, you might think, well, actually it would be good for us, if we wanted more tenancy cleans, to partner with a removal company or with a maintenance company, because they are going to create dirt, or they're going to have clients that are going to need this sort of service, and we can partner with them, and it's going to be a win-win for everyone, because they're going to make extra money with very little additional sales. And actually, from the cleaning company perspective, it's zero cost marketing, right? Because all you're having to do is build that relationship. You're not having to post any ads or create any additional content. You're having to speak with the owner of the removal company, the maintenance company, the security company, say, look, do you think this is the right opportunity for you? They just need to say yes, and they do the selling for you. Like, that's zero cost. There's only upside.
I have a question here. I love this approach. We believe in a similar type of approach, especially in the property management sector. And you're right, a property manager, a security company, they do the selling for you. In my opinion, the real sales part for the cleaning company comes in is actually starting the relationship and opening the door with that property manager, with that security company. Talk to us a little bit about that type of outreach. So how you approach a property manager or a security company almost as a partner versus a prospect. How are you framing that outreach versus just a cold lead gen outreach?
The property manager, you're not seeing them as partners, right? The property manager, they're your prospect, right? You were saying that they have removals, whatever additional services they need, right?
Yeah, property
Just to not
manager
confuse the listener, sorry.
is going to be more of a prospect. The security business owner, the approach that I took was doing some research, like understanding what their pain was, which was challenges from facilities management, the fact that cost per clients were going down and the client retention was decreasing. So I thought, okay, cool. Those are the problems. How can I solve those problems? That's when that led me to what are some security companies doing that others aren't. And I realized that they're offering additional services. So then I thought, great, how can I package this up so that I can approach a security business owner and say, look, I understand what your problem is. Here's some evidence to show that this is a problem, even if you're not currently aware of it. And here is my solution to you. So all I did, literally, once I had that research report prepared, I did just hit the phones, and I was just like, look, would you be open to having a conversation? And I spent a good 2 or 3 months driving around. I had maybe 25, 30 meetings with different businesses, and that led to 3 signing up as partners. And, we generated 100, maybe 150,000 pounds plus in revenue off that first year. So it was more of a partnership approach rather than a sales approach, because ultimately you're working together on the end client to win the opportunity from the end client. And yes, even though in some instances you could be viewed as you can view the security company as your client, ultimately the end goal is serving the end client, right? The office holder, the landlord, whoever it is, of the property that you want to get into, that is the end client. That's what you need to focus on. And if the security business owner realizes that, yes, you can add value to my business, and I can see that you're going to provide the right sort of service, then actually that speaks for itself.
So follow-up question there. You answered one of my questions on how you prospected the security companies almost to find out what buildings they had. You just straight up drove around and did your own research. I love that. How long did that relationship come to fruition once you got the meeting with those 3 security companies and till you actually got in the door with that building? Just talk to us about timeline there.
So the whole from doing the research to driving around to getting that first opportunity probably took about 6 months. And then, from getting in the door, carrying out a couple of site visits to actually getting the contract signed up, all in all was probably 7 or 8 months total. So, it's not the quickest win, but I think it's worth investing that time, because if you find an opportunity and, you just need that first partner to work with you, and then you've got proof of concept, and then you can use that to leverage to go to other partners and, other potential partners and say, look, it's working with one. I know it can work with you too.
Yeah, I say that because I think for the people listening right now, you got to consider the sales process more of a long game, especially if you're talking like a partnership. But I would say 6 to 8 months is worth it for $150,000 per year contract. And then if you duplicate that or the lifetime of that contract, it becomes worth it, man. So
yeah,
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that, brother. Last question, then I'm going to toss it to Angel because I know he's probably got a list of them. You mentioned a word in the very beginning, and we kind of talked about lead gen versus biz dev and all that. You mentioned a specific word, sales structure. You said the Growth Lab talks a lot about sales structure. I don't think there's a lot of sales structure in companies, let alone janitorial companies.
Yeah.
When you hear the word sales structure, what's that mean to you, and how can that really be a benefit to a janitorial company, and how should they be viewing that?
Sure. So from my perspective, it is having a process. Like, what does, from the moment you reach out to a potential or to a prospect to them signing up to a contract, like what do those steps look like? What's the buyer journey? How many touch points? Where are they finding you? Are they finding you on social? Are they finding you on the web? Are they finding you at networking events? Like how many steps, how visible are you throughout that process? And it's more than just generating the lead and picking up the phone. You kind of need to have a structure in place that nurtures opportunities that don't convert, on the first attempt. What does that look like? Do you have a newsletter? Do you, provide value on LinkedIn? Do you have a podcast? What else are you doing to kind of position yourself as the expert to serve this particular client or these particular clients? And what I found from speaking with quite a lot of big businesses is that they don't even have a CRM. Okay, not even a CRM. I know that, and that's understandable. You can work off a spreadsheet. They don't even have that. No pen or paper. No, like.
Well, I think we're in 2023. Should you not have a CRM? Like, is that actually is that actually a normal, you know what I mean? Like, is this is not, it's not, yeah, we can run a spreadsheet. I get it. Back in the day, you could run a spreadsheets, maybe even pen and paper, because the technology wasn't there, or it was ridiculously expensive. Now you can't. Now your phone could be a CRM. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Let me. What are some common mistakes that you see companies make or not have, and what are some absolutes that you're like, at a minimum, have this?
Just have a CRM or have some sort of system to track when you contacted someone, what the conversation was, and when you're going to follow up. Just have that. That in itself, is going to increase the chances of you getting more opportunities than not having that. Yeah, you can get a lot more fancy and technical, but just even have the basics in place. And people just that, I'm speaking with a business that's grown from 2 to 10 million in the last 3 years. They're very focused on operations. Great. They deliver an amazing service. One guy, commercial director, he's in charge of sales. He's got a pipeline for the year. They'll probably convert about 50% of it. No CRM, no way of tracking who he's spoken to, or when he needs to follow up with them. Nothing. And it just astounds me, man. Like, how can you get to that sort of size and not have systems in place
You
to
said
help
you
you
said
sell?
50% when they inbound? Is that what I
He'll
heard?
convert 50% of pipeline. So
Wow.
all of that has been generated from inbound, so from referrals. Yeah.
Well, so it's like there's two ways to look at it, right? There's like, damn it, you're not tracking what you're doing. But if your close rate is 50% just on referrals, I almost wonder, like, it's not like how do you. My brain goes, how do you get to that size on accident? But my brain's like, imagine what size you could be with a
I
little bit
know.
of
This is what I'm
intentionality.
saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So it's been a learning curve for me, because originally, I was just approaching these cleaning businesses saying, look, let me find the opportunities for you. But the more I've been speaking with them, the more I've realized, well, actually, even before we find the opportunities, let's take a step back. Let's actually put some foundations in place for you. Let's get you some basics. Let's get you a CRM. Let's at least have a very simple sales process for you to follow. So from the moment you find an opportunity, you contact them. Like, what happens after that? Do you just forget about them and contact them again in a year, or never? Or do you have some sort of system in place whereby every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, they hear from you in some sort of way? Do you have a follow-up procedure where, yes, you've spoken with them this time, they weren't interested, but you follow up in 3 or 4 months' time and say, hey, I'm back. Is there still an opportunity? They might say no. Okay, cool. I'll speak to you again in another 3 or 4 months. Who knows? So even just putting those sorts of foundations in place so that they're better prepared to, accept opportunities that come along. I mean, and I'll be honest, look, guys, when I had my business, I'll be very honest, I didn't do this. I didn't. Not at all. I looked at different CRMs, but it took me probably 5 years of running my business to get to that point. And yes, did it help afterwards? For sure. Like, we ended up winning our biggest contract because we had a follow-up procedure, because we were constantly staying in touch with these clients, with this particular client, because we had records of previous conversations, because, we logged personal comments that they were saying, and, we built a rapport with them. And it took maybe 9 months to get across the line. But, without having that CRM in place, I don't think we would have necessarily converted that opportunity.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think organization, CRMs is super important, especially on sales follow-up. Let me ask you, give some people some golden nuggets on maybe some tips and tricks that you realize that you do, or that you've implemented in other companies that you're like, you should be doing this and you're not doing it. So, like, for example, one of the things that I love doing is after any meeting, regardless if we set up a follow-up or not, I love sending summaries. I love sending summaries, key points that we identified, next steps, like problems we identified, why it might be the best solution, next steps, and then make sure that everybody was on that party is CC'd inside of that. And not a lot of people do that, right? So I just wanted to double check. And what are some golden nuggets you would share with people maybe on those?
So I also have a summary, but I send a little 2 or 3 minute video. So I'll send an email, and in the email will be a link to like a video where I'm just like, look, hey, these are the key takeaways from our conversation. This is what I suggest is the next steps. I know you're not in a position right now, but perhaps, I can circle back in 3, 4, 6 months and we can continue the conversation. And it's nice to have that sort of personal touch. And also it shows that you're putting in a little bit more effort. And I guarantee 9 times out of 10 clients, they're not gonna get that. So that helps. I think also, taking like the multi-channel approach. Yes, you're going to reach out to them on email, connect with them on LinkedIn, shoot them a message, and also actually be proactive in engaging with some of their content. Some people are just not active at all. others are super active. So engage, because by doing that, you're subconsciously, you're going to be showing up in their mind, right? So even in 3, 4, 6, 12 months time, when you do reach back out to them, they will recognize your name. They'll be like, okay, yeah, I know. Yeah, we've connected on LinkedIn, and I've liked some of your stuff, and you've liked some of my stuff, and we've seen some comments. Like, it's simple stuff.
No, that's such the one you just talked about. I call it like I call it the dopamine hit whenever I train. It's like we're addicted to text messages, red alerts, Instagram DMs. Like if you show up and there's a like and a comment and a message, like it's a dopamine hit, right? So I always tell people like email is cool because that's business. That's where you run your business or call.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to see a flooded email. But like when you do any LinkedIn hunting, it's like, can you take care of that small dopamine that we're all addicted to that social media has given us? Can we leverage that addiction and throw some dopamine in their brain so that they, when they see LinkedIn, they think Angel. When they see Angel, they think cleaning. When they think cleaning, right? It's like what I love to like map out, like in what journey do I need to throw a dopamine hit so that they can I can start programming them, as crazy as it sounds, to when they think of a specific word or a specific action, they see my face in there.
Nice.
I love, like, does that make sense? And that's all part of your sales
NLP,
part.
man. Get in there.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Some NLP in here, living their subconscious, man. It's true. And also, like, you got to disrupt it. You got to use what they're already addicted to and what they're already triggered and programmed by, and then be able to show them a different way, right? Once you have their attention. One of my mentors said it like, all of you want to sell, and that's cool. But the first thing you got to do is just get their attention. If you don't have their attention, you can't do anything. He's like, attention, then make them aware of what's going on. After they're aware and you have the attention, then you dive deeper into what the problem is and then present or get permission to present their solution. And every time I do that, I'm like, that's why people that get the most attention win first. That's why we all hate Grant Cardone as a sales trainer. Like there's better sales trainers, but Grant Cardone is not a sales trainer. He's a marketing genius that even though he's not the best sales trainer, when you think sales, you think Grant Cardone.
Absolutely.
When you think real estate, you think Grant Cardone. Apartment flipping, Grant Cardone. Money, Grant Cardone.
When you hear 10x.
Every 10. Yeah, you hear 10 or multiplier, 10, anything that scales is Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
He just knows how to program us to think Grant Cardone as much as we hate. And even the people that hate him, they still talk about him. That's tension.
I think one thing just before we move on from that, I think one approach that I am going to be trying very soon is hosting sort of regular webinars, and then on something of value. Obviously, from my perspective, I'm looking at targeting cleaning business owners, but also I want to test to see whether we can target some prospective clients for cleaning business owners, hosting a webinar, building a list off the back of that, and then breaking down the webinar into short bits of content, and then using that as part of a campaign to sort of reach out to potential prospects and say, look, we understand this is a potential pain point. Here's a little 2-minute clip of a longer webinar that you can check out here if you wanted to, or just check out this little clip and see whether or not it's of value. Because I think by, you need to position yourself, whether you're in my position or whether you're a cleaning business owner, you need to position yourself as the expert. And that does mean getting out of your comfort zone a little bit and putting yourself out there. And it also means just providing value, right? And if you recognize something, even if you think, a lot of people are going to know that, there's going to be one or two that don't. And it's those people that you want to get on the radar of, because they're the ones that are going to be converting and becoming your clients. And the fact that we have tech nowadays, the fact that we can, post a video on LinkedIn or on YouTube and direct someone to it for like minimal cost should be taken advantage of. That's something that I've been mulling over for a while. I can't remember where I read about the approach, but I just think there's a ton of value in that. Even, with the podcast, like chopping the podcast up. But I think hosting a webinar on one particular topic, and then using that to sort of generate interest is going to be interesting.
I don't know if you read.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, I don't know if you read that from anywhere, or if maybe you were just secretly like Angel's shadow, because Angel and has talked about this forever, like taking like those clips of content and using it almost as like sales objections and like cold emails, like just little clippets of that stuff. We had a client host, it wasn't a webinar, but he hosts like educational lunch for property managers. And,
nice.
It was a good opportunity. He spent a couple $100s on lunch, but he had 7-8 of them all in one room that have access to multiple properties. And we know that property management or property managers want to be educated. So I think that's awesome. Before we move on, Angel, chime in here.
Go for it. Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, for the event, that's such an undervalued thing. What you can do is you can create an event. I'll just drop a little bit of a nugget. So like you can create an event inside of LinkedIn, host a webinar on like StreamYard, Vidyard, wherever, but like do it inside of LinkedIn. Like talk to the end user of your end user. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so like if you're going after cleaners, I would almost interview a property manager or a commercial real estate or a facility manager in LinkedIn, host it. You can invite everybody. They can invite everybody. And then when they sign up for the event, you automatically get them as part of your part of your email list and part of your prospect list, even with their LinkedIn profile there. That's the cool part, because then you can just go. You almost like building your own LinkedIn lead list from an event that they're gonna get value from, because you're talking about their end user, not them as a user. So it's really interesting. That's something that's coming up, not just for a few companies that I know. That's something that we're going to be doing because webinars are so underrated, so undervalued. If you do them the right way, they're a huge hit. They're a huge hit.
Yeah. I want to talk about something that you have with, speaking of content, that you have content out there. And this is actually the very first video that caught my attention of you, Matt. Matt and I got to meet over Twitter, out of all places, talking about social media and content. But you have this video. It's like the main video on your YouTube page. Definitely go check out Matt Harris and the Growth Lab on YouTube. But you said, use Alex Hormozi's $100 million offer framework to grow your cleaning business. Yeah. Angel and I are big Alex Hormozi fans. If you're listening, you don't know who Alex Hormozi is, definitely go get his book, 100 million offers. It's like 99 cents on Amazon. But talk to me about that. That line is actually kind of what drew me into your content, using the $100 million offer framework to grow your cleaning business.
Yeah. So what I liked about the framework, obviously, look, Hormozi is a G. So when I read the book, I thought, okay, how can this be applied to cleaning? And the big thing with cleaning is quite often it is seen as a commodity, right? So I think what I liked about the framework is obviously positioning yourself in a category of one. So going down value rather than price. And, there's the market, finding the right buyers and, bonuses and guarantees, which aren't necessarily so important for cleaning, but finding the right niche and separating your service offer so that you're not a commodity. It was that aspect of it that I was attracted to. So I thought back to, okay, what did we used to do, or how could we have offered things different? And quite often with cleaning, when you take over a new contract, in my experience, a lot of the time, the office manager, the facilities manager, they'll just say, look, this was the previous schedule. Like, just carry on. This is what we want. That's all good. So on a couple, sort of later on in my journey, what we did try was saying, look, rather than just carrying on what was there before, we want to bring it up to our standards. So allow us to carry out a deep clean, like top to bottom. Everything from the floors going up to the high level, clean every surface, because we want to make sure that we're able to maintain, an 85% plus pass mark for sort of quality assurance. And currently your building isn't really up to that. So immediately you're pointing out to them, look, if you're going to appoint us as your cleaning business, then we're going to bring your premises up to standards, especially if you're client facing. Like, you don't want cobwebs around, you don't want dust on the sideboards. Like, you want to make sure that your office is, your premises on point. So approaching it from that perspective, like going in with, yes, we used to charge quite a high rate for the deep clean, but that was to get the property back up to a standard that it needed to be at. And then obviously from then, the recurring bit is the office cleaning contract, and you can offer different sort of levels of the contract depending on gold, silver, or bronze standards. What do you want included in your cleaning service? And I think taking that sort of approach didn't necessarily put our cleaning business in a category of one, but it sort of separated our service from Joe Bloggs, a cleaner, who would just go in and say, yeah, we can carry on the cleaning at this price and on the previous schedule that you had there before. What we would try to do is, we focused a lot on building the relationship element. So we were heavy on communication. So everything from carrying out regular audits, making sure that the quality assurance is hands off. So we would mark our own standards of cleaning to, keep ourselves accountable. And then we would send through reports on a monthly basis to the client saying, look, this is what the standards of your office cleaning is. No need to worry. We've taken care of any deficiencies that we spotted. And sort of taking that approach in itself separated us, I know for sure, from quite a lot of other cleaning business, especially smaller cleaning businesses. We weren't a big player by any stretch of the imagination. But, when you're in a competitive market, it's the small things that you do that are going to make you stand out. And yes, offering a deep clean up front, and then different packages depending on budget, whatever the case may be, making sure that you're on point with communication, having regular audits. Like, they may sound like simple things, but you'll be surprised how often they're not being received by the current provider. And if you do want to stand out from the crowd, operate in a market of one, be in a category of one, then those sorts of little nuances are going to be the added value that are going to allow you to charge better prices and offer a better service overall. So that was generally the approach that I was taking when it comes to using Hormozy's $100 million offer framework, and definitely focusing on, like, don't view yourself as a commodity. That's a mistake I made for a very long time with my cleaning business.
You just hit it start to finish, man. You just went through the whole offer package, man. I gotta give some love to Angel right here, because you hit on something big, man. I just got to throw this out there. You talked about audits, quality control, and given a level of reporting, attention to detail, right? Which a lot of cleaners don't do. If you guys are wondering how you do that, all I'm going to say is contact Angel. Angel can help you with that, man. I'm telling you, man, he can help you with that. And but it puts you in the category of one, right? Technology puts you in a category of one. Your approach is different. Category of one. Productize your offer. And often, even I'm guilty of this, I don't think of cleaning as an offer. Yeah, we're offering a service, but are you actually selling a specific offer and marketing it as such? And I love that, man. So
it's also like Alex talks a lot about, like, experience, right? Like, how can you remove the friction? How do you keep it simple for the buyer? How do you package it the right way? Like you said, it's funny. There's a lot of companies that actually do a lot of internal quality control. They have strong operations, badass account coordinators, recruiters. They don't highlight any of it. Or they do the report, but they keep it internal until the client asks, right? So it's like, one thing that we've been diving deep over here that I appreciate from some bigger companies that I do is like the experience that the customer gets to experience from the moment that, who the hell are you, to I've been with you for 5 years. What's the whole customer into buyer into client journey, and like how are they experiencing everything, right? And I think that's also part of, like you were mentioning back to the beginning, is like the business development manager portion. It's managing all of that, right? So I really like where the conversation went. Really enjoy that portion of it.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Look, I think a lot of the time when I was running my cleaning business, I was too busy focusing on being stuck in the business, right? It just, like, day to day, managing the teams, cleaning, site visits, all that kind of stuff. It was really only when, like, I took a step back and, allocated time in my week to be like, look, don't focus on operations and delivering. Like, what can you do to grow your business? And ultimately, allocating that time, whether it was half an hour a week or a couple of hours a week where I could just go away and think, that led me to, realizing some of these things. It led me to, realizing there was an opportunity with the security stuff. It led me to realizing, look, we need to kind of package our service up a little bit different. And, small business owners, especially with cleaning, a lot of the time they spend on the tools in operations. You just need to give yourself, even if you don't have the resources necessarily to have a manager or have a business development exec or whatever the case may be, just to give yourself a bit of breathing space from the business so that you can look at it holistically and be like, okay, what needs to change? Like, how can I give myself this sort of breathing space more regularly? What needs to change in that respect? And how, with the clients that I'm servicing right now, with the markets that I'm operating in right now, like, where else do the opportunities lie? And it is, you're not going to be struck by bolts of lightning every time, but the more consistently you give yourself that break, the more likely it is that you'll start thinking about, okay, yeah, actually, I can see that now. I can start understanding the matrix. These numbers start popping up and you start connecting the dots a little bit.
Something that you said right there, man. I don't even know if I would call it like, make sure you find a break to do this. I think it's like, you have to do this. One of our mentors, and great guy. One of our mentors, he literally goes like, every, like, the $100,000 commercial cleaning company and a 50 million to $1 billion company, the CEOs have the same title. He's like, they have the different responsibilities now at that point, right, of the different size. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I was like, so what's the difference? And he was saying, like, they get stuck in something called the I, the we, and the they. Mm-hmm. And he says, like, most business owners, they stay on the I. Oh, I'll do it. I'll run it. I'll clean it. I'll do it. He's like, that's cool. You have to graduate to we, which is then, okay, James and I do it. Me and my partner do it. Me and blah, blah, blah do it. He's like, you gotta graduate on becoming a provider to saying they, to where if anything comes to you, it's, I don't do it. No. And so I was like, interesting. So how do you know the difference between like an operator mindset and a leader? And he's like, time allocation.
Yeah, man.
If you wake up every day and your time allocated is not towards leading and strategic decisions for growth, then you're still an operator. You're not really a CEO. You can call yourself a CEO as much as you want, but you're a worker in the business. Yeah. You're not the one working the business. So it's really cool when he told me that, because I was like, time allocation. That's like, I thought it was going to be like this crazy answer. And he's like, nope, time allocation. So if 60% of your time, 70% of your time is spending running the everyday operations, putting out fires, you're an operator. And you're not allowing your brain to make the strategic decisions that Matt is saying, so that you can definitely grow the business.
Yeah. I realized, actually, that's a very good analogy, because I have recently spoken with a couple of CEOs of quite big, sort of 40, 50 million pound sort of cleaning operations. And, they refer to they quite a bit. Oh, my team will handle that. Oh, speak to such and such in my team. Like, he'll take it. Or I'll connect you with this guy in my team. He'll take care of that. And that's how, I'm having a couple of conversations now with their teams, to see whether we can do anything. And it's so true, man. I think the time allocation, like, they need to focus on the 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are going to give, have the greatest leverage. When you're an operator, everything is urgent, right? You're not focusing on the important. And again, it took me a long time to get to that point. So every time since, like, I've tried to refine my process so that I'm only focusing on the important stuff. I have my routine in the morning. My morning, I focus on important stuff, health, and learning, like development. Like, that's the first 3 hours. That is, anything after that is cool. But within that time, like, I get to think about, okay, what are the next steps that I need to take to grow myself personally? What are the next steps that I need to take to grow the business? I've got allocated time in my week now where I take a clarity break, literally no tech, take my journal, go out for coffee, sit down for an hour. I'm like, cool, whatever comes out goes down on paper. And then, I review that after a couple of days and think, is this a plausible idea or not? And then all the plausible ideas go in a file I've got in Evernote. And every now and again, I will check through and say, look, is now the right time to implement this? Yes or no? Does this idea coincide with something that I'm focusing on right now? Yes or no? If it does, great. I'll consider it and see whether I can implement it. But I think, yeah, man, time allocation is super important. And again, I've only learned that as I've gotten older and more experienced. And, it's, you have to figure it out sooner or later. Otherwise, you're just going to, you hit a glass ceiling. And if you want to break through that, you kind of need to change your approach. What you've done to get yourself here isn't what you need to do to get yourself there.
Amen. Man, that's the juice right there. Look at where this conversation went from leads to time allocation. I freaking love it personally. Mm-hmm. I would encourage everyone listening right now. I love what that analogy you said, Angel. Are you an I, a we, or a they? What category are you in? It's a humbling question to ask yourself. Angel, I don't know if you have any last questions here, man, but I'll go ahead and wrap this up. I have two last ones for you here, Matt, and we can keep this quick and direct. Number one, where can people find you at? We'll link everything below. Let them know where they can find you, and then leave them with one last nugget, man. One last juice that you want to leave these cleaning owners with. Your best piece of advice.
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Matt Harris, or on Twitter, I am _Matt Harris. And in terms of the last little nugget, look, man, I'm going to keep it real. Get yourself a CRM. Go to HubSpot. It's free. Use it. Because I guarantee you that in 12, 18 months' time, that's going to start making you money. It just is. That's the nugget. I'm sorry it can't be anything more revelatory, but we start how
it's practical.
We started, right? That's it.
I love it. Matt, thank you so much, brother. We're going to link everything up. Guys, go follow him. Go check out his podcast. If you are on Twitter, I'm a big Twitter guy like Matt. I'm telling you, he's the follow to be at. So, Matt, appreciate it, man.
Thanks to you guys for listening to the Growth Lab podcast. You can access the show notes and free resources via the link in the episode description. And if you got some value from this podcast, please pay it forward and share it with others across social media, or leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you listen to, as it would really mean the world to me. Hope you enjoy and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.